Hello, I'm delighted to be chatting with such a prolific author and hopefully, touch wood, soon to be a Bafta winning screenwriter. Hi, Helen. Self and Steve here.
Hello.
Hi, Helen. Really good to touch base with you finally. Heard a lot about you. I believe you're a northern lass from Pontefract, but we've read that you lived in London whilst working as a lawyer. But are you back in Yorkshire now, or are you still down in London? I wasn't quite too sure about that. So just fill us in on the fine details.
I'm about an hour north of London at the moment, but my mum still lives up in Pontefract, where I'm from. So I'm up there quite a lot because she's quite old now. So so I'm sort of between the two.
All right, okay, fair enough. But before we talk about your writing, I read somewhere that you and your family are all Liverpool supporters, which is the best team in the world as far as Terry and I are concerned. Do you get to many? Do you get to games at Anfield? Have you been to many games?
Yeah, we always try and make sure that we do 2 games a season at least in Anfield. But God, the prices of the tickets are high because obviously, unless you've got a season ticket, which we haven't. So we try to go as a family like a couple of times at least a season. Oh God, did you see last night's match against Luton?
Yeah, awful.
Oh, I know. Don't even want to talk about that.
I really thought we were going to lose.
I did.
Honestly.
I know. We just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. You know what I mean? Yeah, it was awful.
It's like Nunes had his ball repelling feet, boots on.
Didn't you mean scored?
Backing it. I was thinking, I could be more accurate than that, Darwin.
Yeah, and he scored in his last 3 games. He's been, quite clinical, and then he misses from 3 yards out. And anyway,
just got to remind yourself, haven't you, that he's only a young lad. Do you know what I mean?
True,
he's got time, but
Suarez was like that, wasn't he? In his first season, he was missing sitters, just missing them all the time, and then something just clicked with him.
Yeah. Again, with Suarez, he was like that. He'd take any chance he could, so he would miss the occasional few. But he got better and better, didn't he? Nunes is the same. I mean, Carragher calls him Captain Chaos, doesn't he? But I think he's a great Captain Chaos, in my opinion, most of the time. Anyway, and I go to every home game at Anfield, so that's why I'm.
Really do you? Oh, you lucky thing! You lucky thing.
Helen, if it's okay with you, can we split this into 2 sections? We'll talk about your novels, and then move on to your great success as a screenwriter.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Before you started writing, you were working as a qualified lawyer, and I've read that you pondered the question, how can I represent someone that you think is guilty? And this blossomed into your first novel, Damaged Goods. Was there always a novelist inside there waiting to break away from a clear career in law?
I don't think so. No? I mean, I'm not one of them people who's been writing since I was like a little kid, you know what I mean? Or anything else. Just like, no, I'm going to be a lawyer. But that's a question when you're a lawyer, everybody asks you is like, how can you represent somebody if you think they're guilty? How can you defend them? And like the really boring answer is, well, you just, that's the basic principle of justice and all that. But I thought, that if that's a question that everybody's asking, then that's a question that I'll tackle in a novel. But I didn't write it till I was like into my 30s. I was like, and I had little kids. That before that, I'd never even really thought about it, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll come back to that one again, Damaged Goods. But tell us about the Lilly Valentine books anyway. There's 6 titles. Are those standalone, or do they have to be read in a sequence? Or can you just pick any one up?
Each one's it's kind of its own case and investigation, but Lily's life and her family and her relationships do sort of move on sequentially. But I don't think it would be a really matter a lot. You'd pick it up. You could read any and pick it up, and it makes sense. But if you read them in order, you'll get the benefit of like a life sort of thing.
Yeah.
Moving on to the other series of books, there's 4, I think. Yeah, the Liberty Chapman books.
Chapman, Valentine? I'm confused now.
So like I'd written like a lot of Lilly Valentine books, and I just felt like you could carry on forever, really. The readership will keep reading them because they're only getting one once a year. but like you're writing them for that entire year. So I felt like my entire life had been taken up with Lily Valentine, and it was starting to get ridiculous that this one lawyer had all these like huge murder cases. So I thought, oh, I'll try something new. So I said to my publisher, could I start a new series? And she was like, yeah, no problem. And so I wrote it about a lawyer who's estranged from her family, but they get in touch, and then you find out that they're all basically criminals, and she has to tell a lie to try to get them out of trouble. And then the whole series are about her trying to get them on the straight and narrow, but in fact ending up taking over the family like business, because like she's the only one really with any sense amongst them all.
Okay, yeah. Now, considering you've done a lot of screenplay stuff, any plans to adopt your novels into screenplays?
Well, yeah. I mean, it got announced actually in the press today that I'm adapting the Lily Valentine series for Studio Crook. So, but we're just starting that at the moment. So, sort of talking about it and just setting up our first meetings with broadcasters and stuff. So it'll be a long time before we get a yes or a no even on that. But it's really nice, like to think that will come to life. Do you know what I mean? Because that's been, even though it's a long time ago, it's like it's your favourite characters. It's my first character. Do you know what I mean? So I would love that if she ended up on telly. That would be really fun.
Excellent.
Yeah. Helen, we read from your excellent website, hblack.co.uk, that your first success with screenwriting came from a submission to Kudos North in connection with the BBC Writers' Room. So tell us about this.
Okay, so BBC Writers as it is now, BBC Writers' Room as it was then. They've just rebranded themselves. I think it's the same people, and it's a brilliant resource. It's full of loads of scripts and tips and interviews with writers and stuff like that. It's really brilliant, and they do various competitions and stuff. And so they had a competition with a production company called Kudos North. I basically just sent in a script, and then the sort of the prize, as it were, was to sort of go into development with the production company, and they mentor you. They would like get other writers to help you along the way. And so I wrote a script and I sent it into that, and it won. So they were just brilliant. They sort of introduced me to loads of really, really, like Danny Brocklehurst, who writes Brassic, and loads of other writers, and they were all just really, really kind to me. And the advice I had from everybody was get an agent, because I'd already got an agent for my books, but TV writing's really specialist. So, and it's a really small industry. So everybody was like, get yourself a TV agent. So I did that. And then she sort of helped me navigate like a new career in telly, because I wouldn't have known like even the first thing about what, I don't have any connections in the TV industry. So like she was like the one who put me in touch with everybody that I needed to be in touch with and stuff.
Yeah. Now, your screenplay Life and Death in the Warehouse, which was 2022, was nominated for a Bafta. Has this opened any doors for you to go on to do film writing or anything like that?
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. So I've just written series 2 a time with Jimmy McGovern.
Wow,
and much of that opportunity came because Jimmy liked Life and Death in the Warehouse. And also the BBC, he wanted a female co-writer because it's set in a women's prison. And the BBC suggested me because I had written that for them, and other things as well that I'd worked with them, but particularly that. And I think that they thought that he would like the sort of vibe that and the themes that I choose to write about. And so so that definitely helped me get on to my next big job, which was Time.
I watched the first series of Time that Jimmy did, and I thought it was one of his best ever ones. It really was. I loved it, and I haven't yet seen the first episode of the new one about the women's prison. I'm really looking forward to watching that. I can't wait. But
it's very different. Because from Jimmy's perspective, even though the first series was a huge success, there wasn't any point for him to do the same thing. So he was like, okay, we'll do it in the women's prison, but what is it what's different about that? What can we say that's very different to what we were saying in the first one? So I was very lucky to spend a lot of time with Jimmy, just talking really about what it could be and what would be different for women. And then we went round HMP style and met prisoners and talked to staff and stuff, and bit by bit sort of came to what we wanted to say and what was interesting to us about the women's estate as opposed to the men's estate.
Yeah, he's a lovely fella as well, isn't he? You could talk to Jimmy all day. He's just so nice, really
he's absolutely lovely, and he's the funniest man. So like we're writing this really serious drama, but we'd just be laughing our heads off about all sorts, and the football, obviously.
Yeah, he's a typical Scouser all over, isn't he? He's great.
He is a proper Scouser all over. Yeah. So that was just like, it was just a really joyful experience. I mean, tough. He's very exacting in his writing. You wouldn't get away with sloppiness, or laziness in any way. But as long as you're doing the work that he's happy with, he's just a pleasure to be around, really. Very lucky that was. Very lucky.
Yeah. I don't know if he picks the actors and actresses that star in these programs, but he always seems to get it right, or whether it's him or I don't know, but he always seems to get it right that way as well. With Stephen Graham, for example, in the first episode of Time, it was brilliant. First series.
Well, I think with Sean and Stephen, he wrote it with them in mind. That was who he wanted. With season 2, I think he was a bit more open-minded about.
Right.
So when the producers were giving suggestions, then he would have feelings about whether they were right or whether they were wrong. But like, he didn't have like he'd never even heard of Bella Ramsey when they first suggested her. But then once he told his grandchildren, and they were like, "Oh my God, she's in the last granddad," and he was like, "Oh, okay then." And actually, she's absolutely amazing. So he got his first choice of all actresses on Time, because obviously people just queue up, to be honest, to be in it when it's Jimmy.
Yeah, I've watched all of it on a catch up. I think it's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? It's hard. It's
a hard watch. That's something to me. I had the final scene, I think.
Yeah.
There's a line in there. One of the women says something along the line of, "It's not just me in here. My kids are in this prison as well."
Yeah, it's in the first episode. It's a line that says, "I'm in here, but my kids are doing the suffering."
That's it.
And that was like our watchword all along. That was one of the linchpins of the show. And then in the second episode, there's a line where somebody says, "The world's not a straightforward place for a woman." And like, again, that was a watch. So we have these watchwords of what the series was about, so that we never forgot in our mind. That the very different thing about men's prisons and women's prisons is, for a lot of men, there's a lot of family often waiting for them when they come out. Not everybody. Some people are very isolated, obviously, in men's prisons, but a lot of them have got a girlfriend or a wife, or even if it's an ex-wife, but somebody who's looking after their kids while they're inside. Whereas women, when they go into jail, very, very rarely will it be the dad that looks after the kids. So if they haven't got a mum or an auntie or anybody who'll step in, then the kids end up going into foster care. And that was like something we really wanted. Like who's gaining by putting these women in jail? Because the families are being ripped apart on the outside. And unless that woman's a real danger to herself or to society, who's possibly gaining here by putting her in jail, other than some sort of ideal version of punishment? Like, if she's not going to reoffend, then why are we doing this? And that was another question that Jimmy wanted to say, because he has very, very strong feelings.
Oh, doesn't he? Yeah, he got it spot on. That's really great. His thinking is just out there. It's incredible, isn't it? Based on talking films and plays, what fiction and film do you enjoy yourself?
Oh, I like all sorts of things actually. I love I watch a lot of telly more than films, to be honest, and I love anything that has a realistic working class feel. Double points if it's northern, because I just feel so much of it's like so unrealistic. So like I loved Happy Valley. I love the first few seasons of Shameless when Paul was writing it. I love, you know, old Jimmy's big, but especially like Cracker and The Lakes and all those great series. And what I find really astonishing is it's really hard to get the networks, the commissioners, to green light shows like that, and yet they're always a massive success. So like, I don't understand it. Like, there's no risk here. We know people are going to watch this in their droves. So why? It really baffles me when you'll say, oh, you know, you'll pitch something and they'll say, oh, well, you know, we're worried. Is it invitational enough? Will people want to see anything set like on a council estate? And you're like, well, I'm not being funny, but people absolutely rocked up in their millions for Shameless, which was a little Channel 4 show. Do you know what I mean? Like, anyway, but that's me on my high horse. I'm not going to change people's views. All I can do is just keep pitching my own shows and see what they say.
Do you have like a daily word count? Because I don't know if you're still writing novels now and you're sort of fixed on the screenwriting, but you have like a set routine or set hours or, as I say, daily word count?
When I'm writing novels, I try to make sure that every single day I write at least 1,000 words, but I try for 2. And then if you do that day in, day out, you'll get your novel done in enough time to deliver it to your publishers, get your notes, do a couple of edits, do the proofing, and then hit your, like, if you're in a series, you'll probably be, they would really like a book a year. They'd really like a book every 6 months if they could, but that would be really, and I know some writers do it, but I would find that way too tough.
It is
so to hit that, you have to keep hitting that daily word target, which it doesn't sound a lot, but I find it, writing novels is way more time consuming than writing scripts.
And the dialogue come more natural to you then?
I find script writing a lot easier, actually. It's a lot more collaborative. So novels are nice because you've got complete freedom. Like nobody's going to moan about the budget. Do you know? It's like, let's put them on a mountaintop. You know what I mean? Nobody's going to come to you and go, oh, we're sorry, we can't get any night shoots or whatever. If you want to do the whole thing at night, it's up to you. And there's a freedom as well in that you do get notes in publishing, but not many really. I mean, I used to moan, but I look back now and think, God, I didn't know I was born. That, you know, your publisher pretty much will roll with what you produce because they know what you are going to produce. But it's incredibly lonely. So it's like you'll just type and type and type every day, and then at the end you just hand it in and go, 80,000 words. I hope you like it, because I've spent my advance. So it's like, whereas with TV, it's much more collaborative. Like you're working with your producers right from the get-go. Now that's got its downsides in that sometimes it feels like you're writing by committee. But but if you get the right producers, I do like that. I do find that I work better when I'm batting ideas off other people. Plus, the reality is, the risk of a TV show it costs even a low budget show will cost millions of pounds. So you can't. You have to listen to everybody's view. Whereas with a book, even if they pay you a really solid advance, their risk is tiny in comparison to what the risk would be of a failed TV show. So you have to listen to everybody, but sometimes it does get a bit much, you know, and you think, oh God, who's this new person with a new suggestion?
So you just talked about your ideas and batting them around. So where do you get your ideas from for stories and characters? Something in your head, or do you base it on events that have happened to you or you've seen?
Well, with the Lilly Valentine series of books, it was very much based on clients that I'd had and courts that I'd been to and just experiences that I'd had, and building on that. Taking Liberties was just more of a flight of fantasy, really. I just really like the idea of this lawyer sort of trying to deal with a big, complicated, messy, estranged family who'd all been in care together. With TV, it's a mixture. I mean, in the beginning, when you first start TV, you're pitching ideas to producers that sometimes work and sometimes don't. But then as you get, I think I've been doing it now about 4 years or so now, and also because Life and Death did so well, and because I've written on time, you get more a bit of a name for yourself. And now sometimes they'll bring things to me, and that's a bit easier because they'll say, oh, look, we've got this true story. Would you like to have a look at it? You know, a lot of the true stories are quite similar. So like, then you're going like, okay, it's another so-and-so. But I got one the other day, actually, because I was like, oh, it's a true story. I was thinking, oh God, it's not going to be another gritty northern murder, is it? But actually it was really funny. It was really fun. And so I just thought, oh, I'll do that. I'll attach myself to that. And then we'll take it to the broadcasters and see what they've got to say. So bit by bit. I mean, I could still pitch my own ideas to producers, and I will do. But it's also quite nice if you've got a bit of a mix and match as well, because also, well, like everybody can see what's on TV, so much of it's based off true stories and books that it's very hard. It's very rare to get an original idea away on television, sadly, because they do well. You know, again, I don't understand it. You look at Happy Valley, Responder, you know, Time. These are all original shows that are doing really well. And yet when you go and you pitch that to, unless you are Jimmy or Sally, if you go and pitch that to the broadcasters, they'll oh, is it based on a book?
Oh, yeah. Have you got a writing retreat? Is this your writing room that you're in now? Do you have an office at the bottom of the garden, maybe?
No, I've got an office downstairs that's the old conservatory. But I share that with my husband because he works from home a lot. And then we've got this one just upstairs. It's just a spare bedroom, but it's got a desk in it and a wardrobe and a big whiteboard at the back.
Oh, that's handy.
So we sort of swap between the two, really. But this is warmer, so I tend to stay up here, really. Once it's winter.
Yeah. I've got 2 quick questions. The first one, I wanted to ask you, when you went to Hull University and you left 3 years later, what's the relevance of the tattoo on your shoulder? Because you mentioned that in the bio. And I just felt like, is there some relevance there? Does it mean something?
Yeah, on my 21st birthday, me and all my housemates got really drunk on pear cider. I don't even think you can call it cider if it's made out of pears, can you? But anyway, on pear cider. And then I said, should we all get a tattoo as a mark of friendship? And like that should have been the end of it. But there was somebody in our house who was sober and had a car. And before we knew where we went, we were in Mick's tattoo parlour down on Hull Dock. And frankly, he should have turned 3 very drunk girls away, frankly. But it's only a little flower, but we all had this tattoo on my birthday. So it is sort of a bit of a mark of friendship and a bit funny that I do remember my 21st birthday very well.
Even though you were drunk, brilliant.
Anyway. Even though I was drunk, yeah.
So finally, quickly from me, what advice would you give to someone coming into this for the first time, a new writer? What advice would you say? How do they start going about writing?
Well, just try and write as much as you can. Don't put yourself under any pressure. I don't like this idea that people have to, you know, like I write a lot, but it's my job. Before it was my job, when I was a lawyer, I'd just do 10 minutes here, half an hour there. I didn't, you know, that first book, Damaged Goods, took me ages to write. I didn't you know, sit down for hours on end. I had a job and baby twins. There wasn't any time, you know, I didn't have the opportunity to sit down and write for 4 hours at a time. So don't put yourself under any pressure, and just really enjoy it as best you can. Read loads if you're screenwriting, watch loads of telly and films, but read scripts as well. And then just bit by bit try and improve. Like don't imagine that you're going to be the you know the complete article quickly.
You're not going to be Jimmy overnight.
No, not going to be. Jimmy wasn't Jimmy, was he, when he first started?
Exactly.
I think he got sacked off Brookside, didn't he?
That's right, yeah. That's excellent advice. But Helen, time's got up with us, but I've really enjoyed this. It's been a blast. Really,
it's been brilliant. It's been really good. It's been really funny as well.
Can we book another one after you pick up the Bafta?
Yeah.
Would you mind?
Do you know what? Jimmy says to me, I'm not going to any award ceremonies. I can't be arsed with it. I said, I'm going to every single one, Jimmy. So you can do what you like.
I'm milking it for everything I can get out of it. Yeah.
I'll totally deserved it. But listen, Helen, please let's keep in touch. But for now, thank you very much.
No, my pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
Absolutely brilliant. Thank you, Helen.
Thank you.